Hi and welcome back to my channel. I'm Kim and in today's video we are going to learn about all the forms of hän, how to use them in sentences and how to recognize which form you need. This video is split into 12 chapters. First we're going to start with a short introduction. Then in the following chapters we are going to discuss all the different cases. The first one is hän, nominative case, hänen, genitive case, hänet, accusative case, häntä, partitive case, hänään, illative case, Hänessä, inassive case, Hänestä, elative case, Hänelle, allative case, Hänellä, adjective case, and Häneltä, which is the ablative case. At the end of this video, we will as always practice what we've learned today by solving some exercises together. So, let's get started. The word hän in Finnish is a pronoun and can either mean he or she. The pronoun hän can also appear in different cases. For example, it can appear as Hänet or Häntä. Which form we have to use depends on many factors, which I'm gonna explain in this video. So, let's start with the first one, which is hän, nominative case. Here's our first example. Hän on japanilainen means he or she is Japanese. Let's go step by step. Hän can mean he or she. On means is. It's the third person singular present tense of the verb olla, which means to be. And japanilainen means Japanese. Let's repeat again. Hän on japanilainen. He or she is Japanese. Next one. Hän käy kirjastossa kerran viikossa means he or she goes to the library once a week. Let's go step by step. Hän means he or she. Käy is the third person singular present tense of the verb käydä, which means to go or to visit. Kirjastossa is the inassive case of kirjasto, which means library. Here we use the inassive case because of the verb käydä. Remember the verb action. Käydä plus inassive case. And kerran viikossa means once a week. So let's repeat again. Hän käy kirjastossa kerran viikossa. He or she goes to the library once a week. Alright, the next one is hänen, which is the genitive case. We use the genitive case usually in two situations. The first one is when we want to express possession, and the second one is when we have a necessity sentence. For now, let's take a look at the possession. Here is our first example. Hänen nimensä on Kimberly means her name is Kimberly. Let's go step by step. Hänen is the genitive case of hän. It can either mean his or her. However, here in this context, we translate it as her since Kimberly is a female name. Nimensä is a combination of nimi plus the possessive suffix for the third person singular ensä. So hänen nimensä means her name. On means is, and Kimberly should be clear. So here we use hänen because we're talking about possession. The name belongs to her. Let's repeat again. Hänen nimensä on Kimberly. Her name is Kimberly. Next situation. Hänen täytyy ostaa maitoa means he or she has to buy milk. So here we have a very classic necessity sentence structure. Hänen täytyy ostaa means he or she has to buy. Remember the rule? Person in the genitive case plus täytyy plus verb in its basic form. The verb in its basic form here is ostaa, which means to buy. Then we have maitoa, which is the partitive case of maito, which means milk. Why do we use the partitive case here? Because we are talking about an indefinite amount of milk. Remember, when we're talking about an indefinite amount of something, we need the partitive case. Let's repeat again. Hänen täytyy ostaa maitoa. He or she has to buy milk. Alright, next one is number 3, hänet, which is the accusative case of hän. Here's our first example. Tapasin hänet Japanissa means I met him or her in Japan. Let's go step by step. Tapasin is the first person singular past tense of tavata, which means to meet. Hänet here is the accusative case of hän. Why do we say hänet here? We say hänet here because the verb tavata requires its object to be in the accusative case, which is hänet. And Japanissa means in Japan, it's the inessive case of Japani. So let's repeat again. Tapasin hänet Japanissa. I met him or her in Japan. One more. Kutsuin hänet illalliselle means I invited him or her to dinner. Let's go step by step. Kutsuin is the first person singular past tense of the verb kutsua, which means to invite. Hänet is the accusative case of hän. Here we say hänet because of the verb kutsua. Whom did I invite to dinner? I invited her to dinner. That's why we say hänet here, which is the accusative case. And then we have illalliselle, which is the allative case of illallinen, meaning dinner. Let's repeat again. Kutsuin hänet illalliselle. I invited him or her to dinner. Nice. Our next one is number 4, which is häntä, the partitive case of hän. We use the partitive case mainly in 3 situations. First with partitive verbs, then with negative sentences, and also in combination with the so-called feeling verbs. Let's take a look at our first example. Minä odotan häntä means I'm waiting for him or her. Let's go step by step. Minä odotan means I'm waiting. It's the first person singular present tense of the verb odottaa, which means to wait. And then we have häntä, which is the partitive case of hän. Why do we say häntä here? Because of the verb odottaa. Remember, odottaa is a partitive verb. What does it mean? It means it requires its object to appear in the partitive case, which is why we say häntä here. Let's repeat again. Minä odotan häntä. I'm waiting for him or her. Then another example where we have a negative sentence. For example, en tunne häntä means I don't know him or her. So en tunne is the first person singular negative present tense of tuntea, which here means to know. And then we have again häntä, which is the partitive case of hän. Why do we say häntä here? We say häntä here because we have a negative sentence. Let's repeat again. En tunne häntä. I don't know him or her. And then our third example, the so-called feeling verb. For example, häntä väsyttää means he or she feels tired. So whenever we use a so-called feeling verb, the formation is the person who is affected by the feeling has to stand in the partitive case, which we see here as häntä, plus the verb in the third person singular, which we see here as väsyttää. Väsyttää is the third person singular of the verb väsyttää, which means to feel tired. Let's repeat again. Häntä väsyttää. He or she feels tired. Alright, we move on to our next one, which is Häneen, the relative case of hän. Here's our first example. Tutustuin Häneen viime talvena means I got to know him or her last winter. Let's go step by step. Tutustuin is the first person singular past tense of the verb tutustua, which means to get to know. Häneen here is the relative case of hän, and viime talvena means last winter. So here we say Häneen, which is the relative case of hän, because of the verb tutustua. Remember the verb action? Tutustua plus relative case. So let's repeat again. Tutustuin Häneen viime talvena. I got to know him or her last winter. One more. Ihastuin Häneen heti can be translated as I felt for him or her immediately, or also I got a crush on him or her immediately. Let's go step by step. Ihastuin is the first person singular past tense of the verb ihastua, which means to fall for, to become infatuated, or to fall in love with. Then we have Häneen, relative case of hän, and heti means immediately. So again we have here a verb action, which is ihastua plus relative case, which is why we say Häneen here. So let's repeat again. Ihastuin Häneen heti. I fell for him or her immediately, or I got a crush on him or her immediately. Nice! Our next one is Hänessä, which is the inessive case of hän. For example, näen Hänessä paljon potentiaalia means I see a lot of potential in him or her. Let's go step by step. Näen is the first person singular present tense of the verb nähdä, which means to see. Hänessä can be translated as in him or her. It's the inessive case of hän. Paljon means a lot of, and potentiaalia is the partitive case of potentiaali, which means potential. Here we use the partitive case because of the word paljon. Remember, when we're talking about an indefinite amount of something, here for example of potential, then we need to use the partitive case. As a side note, you won't be using much Hänessä, so that's why it's not necessary to focus more on that one. But remember, Hänessä means in him or in her. Let's repeat again. Näen Hänessä paljon potentiaalia. I see a lot of potential in him or her. Next one is Hänestä, which is the elative case of hän. We mainly use it in 3 situations. The first one is when someone becomes something else. The second one is with verbs that require the elative case. And the third one is when we want to express someone's opinion. Let's take a look at our first example where someone becomes something else. Hänestä tuli lentäjä means he or she became a pilot. Let's go step by step. Hänestä is the elative case of hän. Tuli is the third person singular past tense of tulla, and lentäjä means pilot. So remember, whenever we want to say that someone became something else, for example a pilot or an architect, we use the elative case for the person, which is why we say here Hänestä. So let's repeat again. Hänestä tuli lentäjä. He or she became a pilot. Now let's take a look at our second example where we have a verb that requires the elative case. Pidän hänestä paljon means I like him or her a lot. Let's go step by step. Pidän is the first person singular present tense of the verb pitää, which here means to like. Hänestä is the elative case of hän, and paljon means a lot. So here we say Hänestä because of the verb pitää. You want to remember the structure whenever you want to say that you like someone or something. Pitää plus elative case. Let's repeat again. Pidän hänestä paljon. I like him or her a lot. And now our third example, expressing someone's opinion. Hänestä Pariisi on aivan ihana kaupunki means, in his or her opinion, Paris is an absolutely wonderful city. Let's go step by step. Hänestä is the elative case of hän. Pariisi means Paris. On is. Aivan means very, totally or completely. Ihana means wonderful, and kaupunki means city. Here we say Hänestä because we want to express someone's opinion. Remember, minusta, for example, means in my opinion, sinusta in your opinion, and Hänestä means in his or her opinion. Let's repeat again. Hänestä Pariisi on aivan ihana kaupunki. In his or her opinion, Paris is an absolutely wonderful city. Now, the next one is Hänelle, which is the elative case of hän. Here's our first one. Ostin Hänelle kivan tuliaisen Tanskasta means I bought him or her a nice present or a souvenir from Denmark. Let's go step by step. Ostin is the first person singular past tense of the verb osta, which means to buy. Hänelle is the elative case of hän. Kivan is the genitive case of kiva, which means nice. Tuliaisen is the genitive case of tuliainen. Tuliainen means souvenir or homecoming gift. It's a present which we bring home when we return from traveling. And Danskasta is the elative case of danska, which means Denmark. So here we say Hänelle, which is the elative case of hän, in order to express the recipient of the souvenir. So let's repeat again. Ostin Hänelle Kivan tuliaisen Tanskasta. I bought him or her a nice present or souvenir from Denmark. One more. Oletko jo soittanut? Hänellä means have you already called him or her? So let's go step by step. Oletko soittanut means have you called? Here we have the second person singular perfect tense in combination with a question marker. The go here is the question marker. So oletko soittanut means have you called? Jo means already, and Hänellä is the allative case of hän. We say here Hänellä because the verb soittaa requires the allative case when we want to say that we call someone on the phone. Let's repeat again. Oletko jo soittanut? Hänellä. Have you already called him or her? Nice. Our next one is Hänellä, which is the adjective case of hän. For example, Hänellä on tärkeä kokous means he or she has an important meeting. Let's go step by step. Hänellä on means he or she has. Tärkeä means important, and kokous means meeting. Here we have a typical I have construction. You might know it as minulla on, which means I have, sinulla on, you have, or hänellä on, which means he or she has. So that is why we say hänellä here. Hänellä on tärkeä kokous. He or she has an important meeting. Our next one is Häneltä, which is the ablative case of hän. Here's our first example. Lainasin Häneltä yhden kynän means I borrowed one pen from him or her. Let's go step by step. Lainasin is the first person singular past tense of lainata, which here means to borrow. Häneltä is the ablative case of hän. Yhden is the genitive case of yksi, which means one. And kynän is the genitive case of kynä, which means pen. So here we say Häneltä, the ablative case of hän, because of the verb lainata. When you want to say that you borrow something from someone, then the person you borrow something from has to stand in the ablative case, which is why we say Häneltä here. Let's repeat again. Lainasin Häneltä yhden kynän. I borrowed one pen from him or her. Next one. Kysyin häneltä, lähteekö hän mukaan means I ask him or her if he or she will come along. Let's go step by step. Kysyn is the first person singular present tense of kysyä, which means to ask. Häneltä here is the ablative case of hän. Lähteekö is a combination of lähtee, which is the third person singular present tense of lähtee plus the question marker go. Hän means he or she and mukaan along. So here we say häneltä because of the verb kysyä. Remember the verb action kysyä plus person in the ablative case. Let's repeat again. Kysyin häneltä, lähteekö hän mukaan. I ask him or her if he or she will come along. Nice! Now we arrived at our last chapter for today, the exercises. The task is to fill in the correct forms of hän. Here's our first one. We want to say, he or she has to buy milk. Täytyy ostaa maitoa. What do we need here? That's right, the answer is Hänen. Hänen täytyy ostaa maitoa. He or she has to buy milk. Next one. We want to say he or she feels tired. Väsyttää. What do we need here? Do we need here Hänet or Häntä? That's right, the answer is Häntä, partitive case, because we have here a filling verb. So the answer is Häntä väsyttää. He or she feels tired. Next one. We wanna say, I got to know him or her last winter. Tutustuin viime talvena. What do we need here? That's right, the answer is tutustuin häneen viime talvena. I got to know him or her last winter. Next one. We wanna say, I met him or her in Japan. Tapasin Japanissa. What do we need here? Very good. The answer is Hänet. Tapasin hänet Japanissa. I met him or her in Japan. Next one. Translate the following sentence. I don't know him or her. Excellent. The answer is en tunne häntä. I don't know him or her. Next one. Translate the following sentence. He or she became a pilot. Excellent. The answer is Hänestä tuli lentäjä. He or she became a pilot. Next one. We wanna say I bought him or her a nice present or souvenir from Denmark. Ostin kivan tuliaisen Tanskasta. What do we need here? That's right, the answer is Hänellä. Ostin Hänellä kivan tuliaisen Tanskasta. I bought him or her a nice present or souvenir from Denmark. Next one. We wanna say I like him or her a lot. Pidän paljon. What do we need here? Perfect, the answer is Hänestä. Pidän Hänestä paljon. I like him or her a lot. Next one. Translate the following sentence. He or she has an important meeting. Very good. The answer is Hänellä on tärkeä kokous. Means he or she has an important meeting. Next one. We wanna say I borrowed one pen from him or her. Lainasin yhden kynän. What do we need here? Excellent. The answer is Häneltä. Lainasin Häneltä yhden kynän. And our last one. Translate the following sentence. I'm waiting for him or her. That's right, the answer is minä odotan häntä. I'm waiting for him or her. So that's it for today. I hope you liked this video. If you want to learn more Finnish, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much for watching. Have a nice day and see you next time.